In this series of catechesis on apostolic zeal, we are encountering some exemplary figures of men and women from all times and places who have given their lives for the gospel. Today, we are going far away to Oceania, a continent made up of many islands, large and small. Faith in Christ, which so many European immigrants brought to those lands, soon took root and bore abundant fruit. Among them was an extraordinary religious sister, Mary MacKillop, founder of the Sisters of St. Joseph of the Sacred Heart, who dedicated her life to the intellectual and religious formation of the poor in rural Australia. Mary MacKillop was born near Melbourne to parents who immigrated to Australia from Scotland. As a young girl, she felt called by God to serve Him and bear witness to Him, not only with words, but above all, with a life transformed by God's presence. Like Mary Magdalene, who first encountered the risen Jesus and was sent by Him to bring the proclamation to the disciples, Mary was convinced that she too was sent to spread the good news and attract others to an encounter with the living God. Wisely reading the signs of the times, she understood that for her, the best way to do so was through the education of the young, with the awareness that Catholic education is a form of evangelization. It is a great form of evangelization. In this way, if we can say that each saint is a mission planned by the Father to reflect and embody, at a specific moment in history, a certain aspect of the gospel, then Mary MacKillop was especially so through the founding of schools. An essential characteristic of her zeal for the gospel was caring for the poor and marginalized. This is very important. On the path to holiness, which is the Christian path, the poor and marginalized are the protagonists, and a person cannot advance in holiness if he or she is not dedicated to them in one way or another. They who are in need of the Lord bring the Lord's presence. I once read a phrase that struck me. It said, "The real protagonist of history is the beggar." Beggars are the ones who draw attention to injustice, that is, to the great poverty in the world. Money is spent on manufacturing weapons, not on providing meals. And do not forget, there is no holiness if, in one way or another, there is no care for the poor, the needy, those who are somewhat on the margins of society. This care for the poor and the marginalized drove Mary to go where others would not or could not go. On March 19, 1866, the feast of St. Joseph, she opened the first school in a small suburb of South Australia. It was followed by many others that she and her sisters founded in rural communities throughout Australia and New Zealand. They multiplied because apostolic zeal is like that. It multiplies works. Mary MacKillop was convinced that the purpose of education is the integral development of the person, both as an individual and as a member of the community, and that this requires wisdom, patience, and charity on the part of every teacher. Indeed, education does not consist in filling the head with ideas. No, not just this. What is education? Accompanying and encouraging students on the path of human and spiritual growth, showing them how friendship with the risen Jesus expands the heart and makes life more humane, educating and helping them to think well, to listen carefully, the language of the heart, and to do good, the language of the hands. This vision is fully relevant today, when we feel the need for an educational pact capable of uniting families, schools, and society as a whole. Mary MacKillop's zeal for spreading the gospel among the poor also led her to undertake a number of other charitable works, starting with the House of Providence, which was opened in Adelaide to take in the elderly and abandoned children. Mary had great faith in God's providence. She was always confident that in any situation, God provides. But this did not spare her from the anxieties and difficulties arising from her apostolate. And Mary had many. She had to pay the bills, negotiate with local bishops and priests, manage the schools, and look after the professional and spiritual formation of her sisters. And later, she suffered health problems. Yet, through it all, she remained calm, patiently carrying the cross that is an integral part of the mission. On one occasion, on the feast of the exaltation of the cross, Mary said to one of her sisters, "My daughter, for many years I have learned to love the cross." She did not give up in times of trial and darkness, when her joy was dampened by opposition or rejection. Look at this. All the saints faced opposition, even within the church. This is curious. And she faced it too. She remained convinced that even when the Lord gave her the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, the Lord himself would soon answer her cry and surround her with his grace. This is the secret of apostolic zeal, a continuous relationship with the Lord. Brothers and sisters, may St. Mary MacKillop's missionary discipleship, her creative response to the needs of the church of her time, and her commitment to the integral formation of young people inspire all of us today, called to be a leaven of the gospel in our rapidly changing societies. May her example and intercession support the daily work of parents, teachers, catechists, and all educators for the good of young people and for a more humane and hopeful future.